Welcome, students, to ICAN Intelligence. Listen, I know that preparing for your taxation exams can sometimes feel entirely overwhelming. There's just so much material, and we all know the pressure is high. But right now, just take a deep breath. As an examiner, I'm here to tell you that total mastery is absolutely within your reach. Today, we're going to break down Chapter 1, Introduction to Taxation, and we're not skipping a single thing. We are going to build your foundational knowledge step by step, exactly the way you need it to succeed in that exam hall. So let's dive right in. Okay, here's our game plan for today's session. 1. Definitions and objectives. 2. Tax types and concepts. 3. Taxes versus levies. 4. Principles and avoidance. And finally, number 5, an active recall and recap session to lock it all in. Now, before we get into the weeds, I want you to pause and ask yourself a very serious question. If this chapter pops up in the exam, what is the examiner really testing? Well, I'll let you in on a secret. We aren't just testing if you read the textbook. We're testing your precise recall of definitions, your ability to classify different taxes accurately, and your understanding of foundational formulas. Vague answers, they simply won't earn you the marks. In this exam, precision is your absolute best friend. Right, Section 1, Definitions and Objectives. Let's lay down the core concepts. Interestingly, the Nigerian tax laws actually don't explicitly define the word tax. But as an exam candidate, you absolutely must know the accepted definitions. Thomas Cooley defines it as enforced proportional contributions from persons and property levied by the state for all public needs. Now, compare that to the Black Law Dictionary, which calls it a monetary charge imposed by the government levied to yield public revenue. If you get asked to define a tax, examiners are aggressively looking for 3 very specific keywords. The payment must be compulsory, it must be levied by a sovereign power or government, and it has to be for a public purpose. Never ever write that a tax is a voluntary payment. It is an enforced mandatory burden. So, why does the government actually collect these compulsory payments? If you face a theory question on the objectives of taxation, you have to list these out fully. Please do not write etc. at the end. Let's walk through the logic. First, revenue generation. That's just to fund public services and infrastructure. Then, economic regulation, which allows the government to steer the economy's direction. Income redistribution narrows the wealth gap, basically taxing the rich to provide for the poor. Price stability uses tax as a fiscal tool to keep inflation in check. Social policy is there to discourage us from consuming harmful goods like alcohol or tobacco by taxing them heavily. And finally, wealth creation, which promotes investments and a healthy economy. If you understand the simple logic behind each of these, you'll have no problem recalling the whole list under pressure. To quickly wrap up this first section, core definitions require exact keywords. If this shows up as a theory question, how exactly should it be answered? Well, you should structure it by first explicitly stating the compulsory and sovereign nature of the charge, and then providing that full, beautifully explained list of objectives. That is exactly how you secure maximum marks. Moving on to Section 2, Tax Types and Concepts. This is a heavy area for classifications and short notes. The most common way we classify taxes is by incidence, basically direct versus indirect taxes. Direct taxes, like personal income tax or company's income tax, are levied straight on to individuals or businesses. The person paying it bears the ultimate financial burden. The pros, they're usually progressive and really promote equity. The cons, they are incredibly complex to administer and can actually discourage investment. On the flip side, we have indirect taxes, like value-added tax. These are slapped onto goods and services. The producer pays the government, sure, but the final consumer actually bears the real burden hidden inside the purchase price. These are fantastic for the government because they're super easy to collect and generate a steady flow of revenue. But they have one massive disadvantage. They are regressive. That means they fall much heavier on lower-income individuals. We also classify taxes by their rate structure, and this is actually very straightforward. A proportional tax uses a flat rate. The percentage stays exactly the same no matter how much money you make. A progressive tax means the tax rate climbs right alongside your income. The more you make, the higher the percentage you pay. And a regressive tax is the exact opposite of that. The tax rate effectively drops as income increases, meaning it takes a much larger chunk out of a low-income earner's pocket than a high-income earner's. Now, I need you to pay very close attention to these next few terms. Examiners absolutely love testing these, and students mix them up constantly. Tax impact refers to the initial bearer of the tax, the person legally on the hook to pay it to the government first. Tax incidence, however, is the ultimate final bearer of that economic burden. Tax shift is simply the actual process of transferring that burden from the point of impact over to the point of incidence. And finally, tax effect just refers to the broader overall economic consequences of the tax. Well, Chapter 1 is mostly theory. There is one fundamental calculation logic you simply have to master. The formula is tax yield equals tax rate multiplied by tax base. Let's break those variables down slowly. The tax base is the actual measure upon which the tax is assessed. It's the specific income, property, or value being taxed. The tax rate is the burden ratio. This is usually a percentage, like the 7.5% we see for VAT. So when you multiply the base by the rate, you get the tax yield. And that yield is the total actual revenue collected by the government. Commit that relationship to memory. So to summarize this section, the single most typical student error here is confusing tax incidence with tax impact. Remember my rule: impact is initial, incidence is ultimate. Keep that distinction crystal clear, and you're going to navigate those short note questions flawlessly. All right, Section 3, taxes versus levies. This is a classic tabular comparison question. If an examiner asks you to differentiate between a tax and a levy, presenting a methodical, step-by-step table is your absolute shield against losing marks. First, the definition. A tax is a mandatory charge meant to fund general public services. A levy is a much broader term that covers specific fees and charges. Next, scope. A tax is general. It applies to all eligible entities. A levy, though, can be highly targeted. Then look at the purpose. Taxes fund general, everyday government operations, whereas a levy is very often ring-fenced for a specific project, like a toll for a new road. Finally, flexibility. Taxes are strictly non-negotiable, but levies, they can sometimes be conditional. You only pay a toll if you actually drive on the road. If you take away just one crucial distinguishing principle from this section to cement into your mind, make it this: all taxes are a form of levy, but not all levies are taxes. Think about it. A parking fee is a levy, but it certainly isn't a tax. Keep that hierarchy straight in your head. Section 4, principles and avoidance. Stay focused here. This is heavily tested foundational theory. Way back in 1776, Adam Smith laid out the canons of a good tax system. If you're asked for these in the exam, you must list every single one. First, equitable, which means it's based fairly on the ability to pay. Second, certain, meaning the time, manner, and amount are totally clear, not just left to the whims of some tax official. Third, convenient. The payment method and timing should actually align with when the taxpayer has cash in hand. Fourth, economical. The cost of collecting the tax must be significantly lower than the actual revenue it generates. And fifth, the system must be flexible and stable. I am going to sternly remind you again, writing etc. at the end of this list is a massive exam mistake. List all 5. Okay, now let's look at how taxpayers actually react to these rules. You have got to understand the absolute difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is 100% legal. It's simply the careful arrangement of your financial affairs using loopholes in the law to legally pay the least possible tax. For instance, if you choose not to buy a product that has VAT on it, you are legally avoiding VAT. Tax evasion, on the other hand, is a criminal act. It is illegal, fraudulent deceit, like hiding your income, falsifying your documents, or just flat out refusing to pay. The core distinction every examiner is looking for here is legality. Because tax evasion is such a huge issue, you will very often be asked to explain its root causes. Our ICAN study pack details the exact causes you need to know. High tax rates push people into hiding their income. Poor enforcement means they know they can get away with it. A lack of infrastructure makes taxpayers feel like their hard-earned money is just being wasted, which obviously discourages compliance. Corruption within the tax authorities themselves completely destroys public trust. And finally, a lack of public enlightenment means a lot of people just genuinely don't know what to pay or how to pay it. Poverty is a major driver here too. If this comes up, give the examiner a full, well-explained list. So, the summary for Section 4. Never, ever mix up the legality of avoidance with the criminality of evasion. If you get a short note question on this, define both terms clearly, explicitly state that legal distinction, and give a quick real-world example for each, like using legal tax reliefs for avoidance and straight-up omitting income for evasion. Finally, Section 5, active recall and recap. It's time to put all this to the test and see what you've mastered. I want you to look at these 5 exam-style questions pulled straight from past diets. Number 1, define tax, a classic theory question from May 2021. Think of your keywords: compulsory, sovereign, public purpose. Number 2, direct versus indirect advantages. This popped up in November 2019. Remember our chat about progressive versus regressive? Number 3, Causes of evasion, from May 2022. Think high rates, corruption, poor infrastructure. Number 4, the tax versus levy table. November 2020 theory question. Visualize that exact table we just walked through. And number 5, Adam Smith's Canons, a short notes question from May 2023. Can you list all 5 out loud right now without saying etc.? Equitable, certain, convenient, economical, flexible? Use these exact questions as a drill before you walk into that hall. Let's do one last empowering recap of the whole chapter. Memorize that formula. Tax yield equals tax rate multiplied by tax base. Burn those 5 canons of Adam Smith right into your memory. Always, always use the core keywords when defining a tax: compulsory, sovereign, and public. And finally, hold on to that absolute distinction that tax avoidance is perfectly legal while tax evasion is a crime. You now have the structured knowledge you need to totally master this section. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer for ICAN intelligence. If this breakdown helped clear things up for you, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this session with your fellow ICAN students who are also grinding for this exam. We really want to see all of you succeed. Also, drop a comment below and let us know what your absolute most difficult area in taxation is so we can tackle that next. I'll leave you with this final crucial thought. True tax mastery isn't just about blindly memorizing rules, it's about deeply understanding the logic behind the law. Keep studying hard, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next session.